Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Entitled People. It's time yet again to jump into some more Reddit posts, so be sure to like and subscribe, and we're getting right into it. You gatecrashed my friend's wedding? I gatecrashed your pictures. This happened at my friend's wedding a couple of years ago. The wedding was your typical big fat Indian wedding, spread over a week, and it was taking place in a small town with a lot of ancient temples and buildings. The wedding was being held in one of the largest hotels in town. There were a bunch of foreign tourists in the same hotel as us, and they were pretty taken with all the wedding decorations and clothes. They were polite and respectful. They'd ask us questions in passing and get permission before taking any pictures. Now on the morning of the wedding, another foreign couple in their 50s or 60s checked in. They spent the afternoon taking pictures of each other with all the wedding decorations. They walked into the wedding area while it was being decorated, and even stepped onto the wedding platform before being asked to leave by the wedding planner. In the evening, they took it even further. The man in a t-shirt and shorts and the woman in a sleeveless top and shorts followed the groom's wedding procession closely. They had their camera out and were taking pictures and videos of everything. They came in the way enough times that the wedding photographer and planners had to ask them to step aside regularly. The bride and groom's parents were a little traditional and didn't believe in turning guests away. Neither did they want any drama or gossip, so we were told not to kick them out. Instead, we roped in all the kids, and someone or the other always walked into every one of their pictures with a rude gesture or a funny face. It became a fun little game for the kids, and towards the end, they weren't being very subtle. Sometimes I laugh when I imagine them back home, showing their friends pictures of an authentic Indian wedding they attended, and it's full of adults and children giving them the finger. That is a perfect way to deal with it. Just get all the kids to photobomb them. Really though, these are the worst types of tourists. People that act like the world is their own personal amusement park, with no regard for other people or the fact that they might actually be bothering them. They really were taking advantage of people's kindness. Just because people are too nice to tell you to go away doesn't mean that you're not being a nuisance, and they just can't get the hint. Either that or they don't care. And the doctors didn't even speak English, says expats. I've lived in Spain for 7 years. I'm a native English speaker and my husband is Spanish. I speak okay Spanish and have some good Spanish friends, but I thought it might be nice to meet some people from other places too. So I joined some groups on Facebook catering to English speakers in Spain. Sounds great, right? Nope. I quickly became aware that the majority of the members of these groups are professional expats working for multinationals on huge salaries, who have zero interest in learning about Spain, as they'll be pissing off to their next destination in a couple of years. The thing that really gets me is how entitled these people are about everything being available in English, because they haven't bothered to learn even the basics of the language. Case in point, last week there was a post from someone wanting recommendations for a public hospital in the north of Madrid with a good emergency department. A few people replied with suggestions, only for the OP to bellow. I've been there before and the doctors didn't even speak English. They were all speaking Spanish. Well, no shit, Sherlock. Why might that be? Perhaps because we're in Spain and the language spoken here is Spanish and not English. What do you expect? That everyone should have a professional level of competence in your language? If you can't speak enough Spanish, then take along a translator, or go to a hospital which has international staff members. You'll be bound to find one on your work-supplied private insurance. Don't be so spoiled and entitled to assume everyone will speak English. Tossed a guy's wallet in the trash and cashed his money order. So many years ago in the late 80s when I was in high school, my friend Justin and I, 17 and 18, were going to the county fair and taking his little sister along, Heather, 14. Well, my older brother and his buddy, both 21, found out and asked us if they could get a ride. Well, we all piled into my old 64 Ford Fairlane and headed off to the fair. As Heather was already in the car, she sat in the back seat by the window, my brother in the middle and his friend Chester by the other back window. This was my first time meeting Chester, but he seemed to be a jerk, like my brother. They went off and did their own thing at the fair, and me and my friend and his little sister had a great time. Now when it was time to leave, Heather ended up in the middle of the back seat between my brother and Chester. Well, my brother and his friend were a bit tipsy, and at one point I noticed in the rearview mirror that Chester had put his arm around Heather and was whispering to her. We dropped my brother and Chester off shortly after at a bar. I didn't confront him at the time, as Chester was quite a bit bigger than me, and my brother was quite mean and picked on me a lot, and at that age I was still scared of him. When I dropped off Justin and Heather, I asked her if she was okay, as she was very quiet and seemed upset. She said Chester was hitting on her and said some very creepy things to her. I apologized to her and asked her if I should tell someone. She said no, it really just creeped her out. Well, when shutting the back door, I noticed a wallet on my back seat. And wouldn't you know it, it was Chester's. So I look inside and there's about $15 in cash and an unsigned money order for $600. An hour later, my brother and his friend came and frantically searched my car. And when asked, I said no, I didn't see any wallet. Well, a few days later, my friend and I took that money order and were able to cash it. Chester apparently tried to go to the place he got the money order to get it replaced, but as he had paid cash but didn't have the receipt, it was also in the wallet. They told him he was out of luck. Not many computers back then, so he was just out of luck. It was for his rent. In the end, we split it with Heather, and everyone was happy, except for Chester. That time I slapped an entitled kid after many warnings to his entitled mom. I was a 15-year-old male at the time and was at a friend's birthday party. He had a bunch of his extended family and a few friends over, including entitled mom and kid, and we were having an outside barbecue in his garden. This took place about 5 years ago. The entitled mother is one of my friend's mom's cousins. The entitled kid is the mom's precious angel, a spoiled brat, age 6. C is my friend, a 15-year-old male. I arrived about 20 minutes late to the party, due to walking from my house and underestimating how long it would take. I was greeted by my friend C at the gate, in the typical semi-awkward man hug of teenage males, and was invited for a cold can of Coke and a sit-down after walking an hour to be there. As me and C were chatting, entitled mother was stood nearby, speaking very loudly, saying, "Well, if that's C's best friend, why is he so late? And look at the way he's dressed. That boy is just plain poor." For context, I was wearing a slightly baggy blue t-shirt and pale brown khaki cargo shorts with white non-branded trainers. C then says to her, he's late because even though his dad's at work and his mom's car is in the garage, he still wanted to be here, so he walked from his house to be with me for my birthday. And just because he's not wearing the fanciest clothes doesn't mean he's poor. It's roasting and he was walking. He wore clothes that'd be comfy. C then turned to me and we went to the other end of the garden, where a few of our mutual friends were hanging out. I thanked him for sticking up for me, and assumed that was that. But boy oh boy was I in for a surprise. Not 10 minutes later, entitled kid comes charging over and starts shouting and slapping at me. At first, I just try to ignore him, but after about 5 minutes of constant annoyance, I politely asked him to stop hitting me, and to go back to his parents. "But Mummy said I could play rough with you," said the kid. "I'm sorry, kiddo, but I'm tired. I don't want to play right now. Maybe later." The kid then runs off and we see him run up to entitled mom and talk to her and point at us. Entitled mother death glares us and then bends over to her kid, speaks to him, and nudges him towards us. Once again, entitled kid charges up and starts slapping at me and yelling. This time, on his 5th or 6th slap, I block it and grab his wrist gently, then tell him, "Please stop hitting me. It hurts and I don't want to play." C takes his hand and we all go to entitled mom, and C says, "Entitled mother, stop telling your kid to smack my friend, please. It's hurting him." Then we walk away. This must have happened 6 or 7 times, and each time C would get angrier with entitled mom, eventually telling her that if the kid didn't stop hurting me, that he'd give me permission to fight back. After a massive rant about the arrogance of today's youth, entitled mother takes her kid, and C brings me and our friend group some food. Not 5 minutes later, this kid is back again. This time C picks him up and carries him back to entitled mom. "I told you, entitled mom, we don't want to play with your kid. Please stop sending him to us." "But he's bored," said the mom. "I don't care. You're ruining my birthday party. This is my final warning. If your kid hurts OP again, he will be hitting back." After shouting this, C storms back to us and we decide to go inside to C's room to play on his Xbox or watch a film. Halfway over, I hear a shrill scream. An entitled kid charges into me and punches me square in the genitals with all the force in his chubby little body. I shoved him away and doubled over slightly and yell at him, "What the hell, kid? I told you I don't want to play." Before anyone can react, the kid is back on me, screaming and punching me. So I did the only thing I could think of. I slapped him round the face. Before you all get mad, I didn't slap him very hard. Enough that it hurt and made his cheek a little pink. However, what I didn't think about was the fact that my hand was roughly the size of this kid's head, so when I slapped him, he was thrown to the floor, where he promptly began wailing at the top of his lungs, drawing the eyes of the 5 or 6 people who hadn't seen him attack me. Entitled mother storms over and begins screaming about assaulting a child, and how you'll pay for this, and he was just playing. When she paused to take a breath, C stepped forward. "You were warned. Your horrific brat has been hitting my friend despite being asked many times not to. Entitled kid attacked him for no reason, so OP defended himself. This is your fault. You've ruined my birthday." C then leads me inside for an ice pack, and C's parents send everyone home. His dad later said to me, "I feel I need to tell you off because you shouldn't have smacked that kid. But in your position, I'd have knocked the little shit's head off long before. So in the future, just try to avoid him." I agreed and apologized, and everything was cool. Entitled mother wasn't invited to any other family event involving C, so all in all, a good ending. Parents demanding to skip the line at a restaurant because they're parents. Me and my sister, 20 male, 20 female, were traveling together to the small touristic town in the southern region of our country. One night we wanted to go to a restaurant. We didn't know how popular it was, and it was kind of crowded when we arrived, so there was a line to get in. There were maybe 8 people/families in front of us. We decided to wait anyway because we had time. It was raining, and the line wasn't exactly inside the restaurant, but it was in a covered area, so it wasn't raining on us or anyone else in the line. Say about half an hour later, there were 2 people in front of us and maybe 3 or 4 behind when a couple arrives. The husband is holding a toddler and there's a little boy following them. They stop, look at the line, look at each other. The wife picks up the toddler and immediately goes up to the lady in charge of the line, demanding that she lets them in. The lady asks if they have a reservation. She says no. She then tries to explain that without a reservation, they can't cut the line, for obvious reasons. Then the wife goes, "Don't you see I have a baby with me?" Me and my sister were watching all of it, and we saw the husband pushing the little boy so he would stand next to his mother. She then goes, "I have 2 kids with me, you have to let us in. There's no other families with children here, they can wait." The lady very patiently repeats what she had said before. The mother doesn't stop. "It's raining on us." It wasn't. "My kids are going to get sick. If my kids get sick, it'll be your fault. You have to get a table for us and let us in right now." Then she called her husband and he started repeating the same things she was saying, that they had the right to cut the line because they had kids. The kids should be prioritized over the adults in line. Kids were hungry and were going to get sick, etc. They eventually left, complaining and cursing the lady, who was just doing her job. I don't blame the kids for the parents' behavior, but it wasn't a nice scene to watch, and it definitely was an awful example for them. Eventually, we were able to get in, and the food was really good, so at least our night wasn't ruined. That's going to be it for today, guys. Thank you for watching, I appreciate it. Be sure to drop a like if you enjoyed, and also subscribe to the channel for more. And with that, I'm out of here, so have an awesome day, and I'll see you next time.